Welcome everyone, this is Magnus, and this is my first time streaming on the Shenmue Fans site, so subscribe to this channel definitely for more Shenmue news. We've got on this channel different updates when it comes to videos and the latest in Shenmue 3, and basically everything going on from a multitude of creators that just want to bring you Shenmue content. Please consider subscribing. I'm also uploading this video after I'm of course done with the stream to my personal YouTube channel, Personal Magnus. So I left a link down below. Definitely check that out when you have a moment. But welcome. I'm excited. Now first I want to get to the technical specifications of this whole thing. So I've been preparing for at least the past couple of hours to bring you the best show. But occasionally I might have a glitch where I freeze. So if that happens, bear with me. It's this software, OBS Studio. It's got some kinks that I've been trying to work out. And in the meantime, I'm going to research what better streaming software I could use so that I can bring you some uninterrupted Shenmue coverage whenever I do these live upstreams. So here we go. Let's get started. So Shenmue is coming. Shenmue 3 is coming. Excuse me. And it's only about a little over 2 months away. Shenmue 3, if you don't know and you just happen to run into this channel, is the sequel to Shenmue 1 and 2 that was released on Dreamcast and Xbox nearly 20 years ago. And now this hype that we're building is for the third game, Shenmue 3, which was kickstarted back in 2015. And we're all in this together, and we're all in this to basically see what happens in the next chapter. So if you're new here, welcome. But if you're part of the community, you know what's going on. So first I'd like to start off with a happy birthday to a certain creator, Oregon Pacifist. I previously interviewed him on my channel and then I re-uploaded it on this channel, so definitely check out that previous upload. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Oregon Pacifist. So let's see what else I got going on here. Also, lately what's been going on with me, before we continue with the continued information I want to share with you guys, is that I was recently at a video game con in New Jersey, and that was a lot of fun. I met with different creators there, and I spent most of my time, to be completely honest, playing classic video games from Street Fighter to Dance Dance Revolution, and then of course played a little bit of Sega Master System, which I have a couple of streams on my channel where I actually played that live. But I love Sega Master System. That was a classic 8-bit console that competed with Nintendo. Didn't do so well in the States, but it did pretty well in Brazil and also in Europe. So if you know anything about Sega Master System, you know that it was definitely a little bit more powerful than Nintendo, but Nintendo with its licensing deals definitely had the clutch on the market back in the 80s in the United States. So that's that, and it was fun. It was a great time, and I definitely would go again next year as I did the previous year. So, alright, moving on. Yu Suzuki, as you can see in the screen that I've got next to me right now, Yu Suzuki was at TGS this past week, Tokyo Game Show, and he was of course talking about Shenmue and Shenmue 3 and basically the latest developments. Now I couldn't translate everything he's got going on right here, so I'm gonna just kind of show you a couple of his videos of him coming out and basically getting announced by the different groups as he wanted to talk about Shenmue 3. So here he is coming out and speaking at this conference, right, with for Gamer.net. Let's see if I could pull up another one. Here he is with Famitsu getting interviewed when he came out. So he was definitely busy at TGS for all of these press events and interviews. And it's amazing that he has the time to do all of this and then work on Shenmue 3 and basically get no sleep. I mean, here he is coming out again, and and working these different press events and making sure that he pretty much shows the crowd what he's been working on for this entire time. Let me see if I could open up one more video that was off of this Sega stream and forward a little bit. You have some nice Shenmue coverage. And here he is when he came out again to speak in TGS about more Shenmue 3 coverage, more Shenmue 3 updates. So kudos to you, Suzuki, for being able to have the energy and have the time to come out to this press event, work the insane hours that not only you are putting in, but everyone that's working on Shenmue 3. And I like those costumes that were worn there. And everyone who's just giving all their energy for this game that is literally coming out in about 2 months. So, I mean, I can't believe it. But let's get on with it. So, if I minimize this right now, I've got a screenshot of 2 videos that's going on. And if I play these videos, I might freeze again. So then I have to restart the stream really quickly to be able to keep up with everything. But what you see here on the left of the screen is the trailer that was shown at TGS. So that was recently, this past week. And the screen on the right is kids training again at the trailer shown at E3 earlier this year, which I believe was in May, if I'm not mistaken, May or June. Didn't check the date, so. But this itself shows to me, like, what I've noticed, and I've noticed a lot of Twitter feeds and Twitter conversations that have to do with the graphics and how much has been updated in just a couple of months' time. Now, this game is releasing in about 2 months, but I want to specifically speak about this screen that you see right in front of me right now. It shows, like I said, the kids training. Now, on the left, the lighting itself, and this is what caught my eye, the lighting itself seems a lot more detailed, intense, and specific to the character models. If you look at did I freeze again? Okay, I'm gonna restart this stream really quick so you can see me. Hang on one sec. As I anticipated, this darn software would have me freeze and whatnot, but we'll pay attention to these screens that I've got going on, and if I freeze again, I won't stop the stream. But I'll keep going, and then if once again I'm talking again, I'll just restart the stream again. So apologies for this glitchy software, and I'm trying to get over it. So as I was saying, the fact that they've improved the details in the lighting engine, which is what I've noticed for the most part, is pretty amazing for what they've got in the latest updates. If you look to the right, and I'm actually going to play these videos, I want to compare what they've got from one end to the other. Now, keep in mind, the side in the left is the latest presented in TGS. The side on the right is what was shown at E3. And I've got no volume, so you're just going to see them play side by side and kind of go on. The side on the left was kind of to show you, the purpose of that video was to show you kind of how the world looks and immerse you in like a day in Shenmue, where the trailer on the right was pretty much showing you a little bit more story driven. But in itself, the details and the lighting engine, as you can see right there on the left side, is just completely immersive and intense, and it shows that they've been putting in the work with every minute that they've got. Whereas on the right side, what you've got is an intense amount of work. And now that was shown in E3 was a huge upgrade compared to what was shown previously. I mean, this game has been updated constantly for better looking graphics and whatnot. So the fact that they've got something this polished in such a short amount of time, in just a few months, it only makes you wonder what will they show or how the game will look in a couple of months when it's actually launched. Now, there was a lot of controversy in the fact that the original launch date was supposed to be, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, August 27th, 2019, which is a date that has already passed. We're now in September, and by now we should have had Shenmue. But what would have Shenmue been like if it launched and it launched without these graphical updates? Now, there was a lot of controversy that we talk about when it comes to the fact that its original launch date was set where it was set before there was any talk of Epic Games contributing a little bit more to the project to get it a little, even more enhanced than what it was. I would think that, and this is just me speculating, so don't quote me, I would think that that has a lot to do with the fact that Epic saw the way that this project was coming together and wanted to provide a little bit more support because it actually looked like it was going to be something polished. But then if that's the case, how much can you do in 3 months? Well, at least from a graphical standpoint, and I'm not the only one to point this out, it shows a pretty significant difference, at least from a graphics perspective, from one end to the other. I think that the pushing of the Shenmue project to November has only helped a little bit more from a graphical perspective. But this is again me speculating. I would bet that there was little to no additional story added with this delay. It was only to polish the graphics, possibly polish the gameplay, and all of that. Now, I'm seeing some comments come up, and I apologize if I'm not responding, but I can only speak English. But it looks pretty good. Now, I'm seeing, let me pull up a page to see if I can see anyone commenting. So, yeah, so I would pull up some snapshots as well as that I saw on Twitter that actually shows specific similar screens as well, but I don't have those available right now. So what do you guys think from a perspective of the graphics upgrade between, for example, E3 2019 and what you see now? Do you think that the wait was worth it? Or do you think that, you know what, I just want to play the game now? And that's, speaking of that particular topic, the game itself had a certain look by, I think, the first few trailers. And that look was a little bit less cartoony. It was a little bit more like graphically serious. And then what you see in the latest trailers, like E3 2015, for example, 2019, excuse me, and what's seen today, from what you see, is a little bit a softer style, a softer graphical style, where it's not as realistic, but it's a little bit more cartoony than what it was. What do you guys think of that? Of the fact that it's got a softened edge to it. So Alan says, for me, the actual graphics is nice. Maybe other face appearance for Rio. I guess what you're trying to say is that the fact that Rio's face doesn't look quite the way it used to in the classic games. And to me, that has been tweaked constantly. Rio's face from the original trailers in 2015 to what they are now and today have gone through so many changes and upgrades. That is something particular that a lot of fans have been picky about. A lot of fans have really wanted to get Rio's face as well as Shenhua's face to look the way it did in the classic games. And those classic faces are a bit difficult because you're not only just working with assets that you no longer have rights to touch, even though Sega really gave them a lot, but it's really, in a modern era, it might not look the same. So you have to update, tweak, enhance. You want the graphics to be updated, but at the same time you want to give that classic look, and that balance is a bit of a challenge. I think at least with the latest gameplay footage, it's come pretty close to what we remember, but showing enough of an enhancement. Now, me personally, I was good with footage from a couple of years ago because I wasn't that picky with graphical updates or anything that I had going on. I just wanted to play the game, see what happens in the story. Graphics matter, especially in today's day and age, but going back and looking at what we've got and comparing that to the original Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2 games is an interesting. All right, checking in more of the comments. Jake C says, people just can't let go of the Dreamcast designs. It's been 20 years, people. It's an entirely different game engine on a different console. There's going to be changes. He looks way better than Dreamcast. Now, that's definitely an opinion that comes to what you want to see, and each person has their own preference. Personally, I love the Dreamcast graphics, the Dreamcast look, and the way that the Dreamcast presented the characters. But I'm also ready to move on to an updated look for these characters because, quite honestly, they may not look exactly like they did on Dreamcast, but we are getting the original voice actors in the American voice dialogue and the Japanese voice dialogue, at least for Ryo. And that in itself is amazing. But not only do you get the original voice actor for Ryo in both versions, you also get the original developers, or at least a large amount of the original developers of the Dreamcast game coming back to do this game. And that in itself is a feat that doesn't happen too often. I mean, we look at franchises, for example, when you look at the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, and them when the original Sonic the Hedgehog 4 was in talks to be released, and then the Sonic the Hedgehog 4 was then released, they didn't use the original Sonic team from way back in the Genesis area. They used a team that actually worked on Sonic games on a Nintendo system. And when you play that game, it did not... I mean, it wasn't bad, but it didn't have that original Sonic feel. And it had a couple of glitches that had to do with the fact that the physics engine was nowhere near the same. And that happens when you have a different set of team working on a franchise. And now with the Sonic Mania franchise, you have passionate fans saying, hey, this is how it should work. But you don't have that original team. And I love Sonic Mania, don't get me wrong, definitely. But the original team could have also done an engine that actually worked well. Now, Shenmue, fortunately, did not have that issue because Shenmue got the original team to work on it. So the graphics are updated, but it's updated by the original team. And if it's what you see today, it's done by the original developers. So trust them when they know what they're doing, at least from a looks perspective and a graphics perspective, especially when working with modern engines like the Unreal 4 engine that they're using to develop this game. All right, so on to another comment. Do we get the original American voice actor for Ren? And then Cakeman777 responded, unfortunately, Eric Kelso isn't coming back for Ren. Now, there were some trailers that actually showed scenes where Ren was speaking, and Ren, unfortunately, was not the same voice. Now, the original character and voice dialogue for Ren way back in the Dreamcast days I thought was an excellent voice actor. I thought he really brought out the personality of Ren, and I connected with that type of acting prestige and voice dialogue with him. Now, it's different, but the new voice actor himself, at least for the American version, does a pretty fine job of representing Ren in the modern age. Now, we got to remember that in today's age, we're probably going to get a much more mature performance from the different voice actors. And it's these voice actors, especially the voice actor for Ryo in the American dialogue version, and in the Japanese dialogue version, has had near 20 years of experience of voice dialogue to mature and become more of a um, professional performance and become a professional actor when compared to the original days. So what you're gonna get is probably better voice dialogue, but there's still got to be that classic Shenmue feel to it, which is something that I think you've seen in recent trailers, which is awesome. Um, do you think it's possible to leave a Shenmue 3 demo in mid-September? We from Brazil are looking forward to playing this demo. I know for a fact that Shenmue 3 demo will be released to Kickstarter backers later this month. And when that happens, I'm definitely going to not subscribe, but stream gameplay of Shenmue 3 on my channel, and so everyone can see what it looks like. However, Shenmue 3 demo will not be released to the public, as far as I know, as far as the latest updates. It won't be released to the public, and the game's coming out in November. So that much I know. Nozomi better be in the game, not just a call, by Chris Jones. Nozomi. Now, if you know anything about this story, you know that Nozomi was featured as a female character in Shenmue 1 for Dreamcast. Was not featured at all in Shenmue 2, besides a picture that you carried in your backpack. But from what I hear, I believe Nozomi will be possibly featured as a person who you can call in Shenmue 3, but I'm not too sure about that. Of course, the game hasn't been released, so you don't know, but I think that that might be a possibility. Now, Nozomi, last we heard from her, she was moving to Canada by the end of Shenmue 1, and you weren't going to see her for a long time. So it makes me think of what Ryo... I mean, Ryo has been gone for a while from Japan, and does it make sense that Ryo wouldn't actually ever think of her while he's gone in China? Milad, thank you. Love you too. Love everyone who's watching this, and I'm grateful that everyone's online and talking, because we gotta make sure that this Shenmue community continues to grow and continues to thrive and get the word out there that Shenmue 3 is coming out in a couple months. So there's a lot of talk too. I'm seeing Watav Minger's comment: is there more than 2 locations in Village and the riverside of town? I've seen footage or like sneak footage of like different areas that is more than just what's featured in the trailers that you're seeing next to me. I've seen footage of just bigger, grander areas. However, why would it make sense that any of the trailers show you things that you're going to anticipate and watch in the actual game? You want all of this to be a surprise. So far from what we've seen, especially in these trailers, is the cave, and then that riverside place where it looks like you're just landing there in Guilin, and then training areas, and then a couple of like nice street merchant walkthrough area, but not that much, and then a couple of scenes that you see, and that's it. There's not much more than that is shown, and that's perfect because we want to be able to see only just a taste of Shenmue 3. Anything else, I want, just like everyone else here, I know we want to discover that together as we play the game. So you don't want too many spoilers, and the fact that they've been actually tight-knit on most of the game is something that I'm grateful for. And you know what? If I know that something's too much of a spoiler, I'm not even going to watch it. I'm going to stream it on my channel. It is not going to happen. No the why. I never seen Shenmue or Shenmue 2. In a short summary, can you tell me what it's about? Okay, I'm going to give you guys the most brief, basic summary of what Shenmue 1 and 2 are about. Shenmue 1. Boy comes home who lives in Japan. Father is murdered over a mirror that was stolen by a Chinese mafia person, but you know nothing about what's going on. After a massive investigation, you wanting revenge as Ryo Hazuki, you actually sail to China after you find out that that person who murdered your father escaped to China. After you arrive in Hong Kong and a lot of things happen, you find out that there's a lot more to this mystery and these mirrors that were stolen, and you have actually happen to find one yourself in the first Shenmue 2. There's a lot more than meets the eye, and you go to actually another place in China called Guilin, which Shenmue 3 is about to happen, after meeting a certain friend of your father's who tells you that that's where you should go to get more information, and you run into a girl who happens to be somebody you dreamt of as Ryo several nights, and then when you actually go to Guilin, you go into a cave looking for her stepfather, trying to bring him food, and you find out that there's more to this mystery with the mirrors and what's going on than you ever realized, because it might have been prophesized. And then from there, Shenmue 3 starts. What's going on? Now, I skipped a heck of a lot. And Oregon Pacifist, your summary about looking for sailors, that's also relevant too. But there's a lot to uncover and unmask in Shenmue 3. I would recommend playing Shenmue 1 and 2 and really getting immersed, because it's not just about getting a brief summary of the story, it's also about the fact that the story pulls you in, the gameplay style pulls you in. Shenmue in itself is a revolutionary franchise, not just because of the story, but also because of what it did for gaming. Shenmue series pretty much revolutionized QuickTime events, which not everyone's a fan of, and QuickTime events have been around since the 80s. But even calling it a QTE was originated with Shenmue. That was coined there. Open world. There were open worlds before Shenmue, but Shenmue really, to this day, has features in an open world concept that is very difficult, if not impossible, to easily replicate in today's standards. So Shenmue and Shenmue 2 were, in themselves, trendsetters in the video game industry, all done by and directed by Yu Suzuki, which he himself revolutionized several trends in the modern gaming industry. One in particular that I actually would give him credit for is the creation of Virtual Fighter. Now, he did virtual racing using polygons to pretty much immerse yourself into a 3D racing realm. But he was the first, I believe, to use polygons to render actual humans and create a fighting game to compete with Street Fighter. And then, of course, Shenmue itself was originally a concept to be Virtual Fighter RPG. So he took that idea and then just ran with it, because he was like, you know what, I can render humans and I could do it in polygon form. We're coming out with a system, the Sega Saturn, back in the mid-90s, that can actually render polygons and make it actually immersive. I want to go to the next level and create a concept that is few and far between, and it's actually considered something that's the norm today, but in the mid-90s, that was unheard of. We were still doing side-scrollers. So that in itself is amazing. Chris Jones, speak on the music of Shenmue. Now, that is a topic that I wanted to discuss as well, because the music of Shenmue in itself is classical. It's amazing, and there were a number of tracks that were created in the original 2 Shenmue games that were unheard of, meaning that they weren't even on Shenmue and Shenmue 2 at all, but they were created for the franchise. And from what I know, a lot of those tracks that were originally done are going to be featured in the 3rd Shenmue, and we'll get a nice high quality taste of what all of that's about when we're able to finally play Shenmue 3. Now, this is a personal story for me. The Shenmue theme music in itself is iconic for several reasons. One, the actual orchestra music that's involved in it, and the theme that it has actually is iconic to the franchise. But it's one of the few tracks, and this, when what I mean is the main Shenmue 3 theme. It's one of the few iconic soundtracks that when you hear it, and when you know what it's involved with, it could possibly bring a tear to your eye. Now, when Shenmue 3 was announced as a Kickstarter project in 2015 E3 in the Sony conference, which I think is iconic in itself, soon as that music played, for myself and for many who actually watched it live, it brought a tear to our eyes. It was something that inflicts emotion. I mean, you hear Mario's music or you hear Sonic's music, it could bring you a nostalgic smile and you connect with it. But Shenmue in itself actually gets you emotional. That music touches you, not only because it's amazing, but because if you were involved and invested in the franchise originally, you emotionally feel like an empty side of you where you know that the franchise never finished. And the emotional story of your father getting murdered and you never solving it was just undone. So there's this ache where you're like, why wasn't this completed or finished? So it's a shame. It's a shame that we never got to finish the franchise, but at the same time, it's a blessing that it looks like we're about to. So let's go to more comments. Leandro, due to problems with Shenmue 3's transition from Steam to Epic Games, will fans invest in a new project again? I'm hoping that the answer to that is a no. I hope that fans don't have to support another Shenmue 4, for example, other than purchase the game when it comes out. Because Shenmue 3 had to be kickstarted to build the excitement amongst developers and publishers so that they can know that, look, it's worth an investment to release this franchise because people are going to buy it and people are going to adopt it. But I hope that none of us have to do that again for Shenmue 4, because now the faith has been put in the franchise. The sales have been proven to the franchise that, you know what, it is a profitable investment. Let's do Shenmue 4. And the only thing that we have to invest in is after it's released, should we get the collector's edition? Should we get the ultimate edition? Should we get the basic? And that's the only investment that will be required from Shenmue fans. That's what I'm looking for. So, speaking to that, Shenmue 3 in itself is coming out in a couple months. Thank goodness, finally. But Shenmue 4 is something that is still, at least from my perspective, still seems to be up in the air. And will it happen? And I hope that everyone who's watching this, who hasn't heard of Shenmue 4, can join in that support. But also there's been, as well as, controversy. And I didn't want to touch about the controversy anymore, but it seems that there is one topic that kind of hurts a lot of those that supported Shenmue, and that topic has to do with the fact that Shenmue backers and the original Shenmue backers off of Kickstarter supported the game. We had their tiers that we were supporting it for. But then upon the release of Shenmue and what we're seeing, at least with different packs that are being released for different retailers such as GameStop or Best Buy, they're getting add-ons that the Shenmue backers originally are not getting. So you have a lot of Shenmue backers that are frustrated because it's like, well, I want that. I helped support and make this game. How come I can't get what these other people are getting? Now, I have a lot to say about that, and that in itself is going to be a separate video looking into that. But specifically what I'd like to say is that when you invest, for example, let's say you're investing in something that helped me work out. You're investing in the fact that you're going to buy me protein powder and help me work out. And the only perk that you're getting is I'll flex personal pictures for you, and that's what I promise you. Then, because you helped me do that, I decide to release my own personal protein powder based off of those investments. It gets me feeling really good, and I design it and then I release it. You as a backer were promised pictures, not my exclusive powder. Why would you get mad that I didn't give you free powder? It had nothing to do with what I originally told you would get. Sure, it's a perk, but it's also something that wasn't originally promised. I understand that there were people mad about the Epic Games exclusive deal, which even that, to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. But or when they were promised a PC version, they wanted a disc and it's only coming with an Epic installer. That I understand. I can see that. But to be mad about something that you were never originally promised. Now, those that pushed a tier that was high enough to get additional perks, you're still getting those perks that you were originally promised. But if it wasn't promised and it's being sold in order for the franchise to profit and make more money, so that, again, justify a Shenmue 4 release, which is what we all wanted to begin with. That in itself is a bit much. My personal opinion. Now, I understand that you're going to be upset anyway, and there are those that are going to be upset. Heck, I really want the actual mirrors. I want everything. I want anything related to Shenmue content. I want definitely to get my hands on it. And then, yes, I have to give more money to that. But if I gave an insane amount of money anyway, when I invested in this, to get a little bit more, why not? And my name's going to be in the credits in Shenmue 3. Boom! That in itself is huge. I'm super excited about that. So, yeah, I can't complain about that personal thing. So, a couple of more comments before I call it a day. First of all, I want to thank everyone for joining this live stream and discussing the graphics in itself. And I do believe that there have been possibly more updates, more than just graphics, to this engine. And we'll talk about that in another stream. But right now, at least from a graphical perspective, it seems like the last couple months were worth it. How is it guaranteed that we even get a 4 and 5 Atomic Tunes? That's the scary part. Thinking about that. But before I go on, Virtual Bros, thank you for enjoying this live stream. I'm completely honored that you're watching, which is a huge honor. And Thorsten as well. Thank you for always watching my live streams. But talking about Shenmue 4 and 5, there is no guarantee that we get anything above Shenmue 3. Now, we already know that Shenmue 3 in itself is not going to be the last game. It's going to end on a cliffhanger. Spoiler, it's a cliffhanger ending. We're getting that again, and then we have to wait, but hopefully not another 20 years. But this in itself is something that we really have to, as a community, support and get the word out there. Shenmue Fans, this channel right here, does an excellent job of promoting Shenmue as much as possible, as I do on my own channel, Personal Magnus. Please subscribe. If you want to see more, I've got some other side content that has to do with Shenmue, as well as other live streams that I'll do on that channel. But us as a community, to keep it growing, to get the word out there. And then, of course, if you're a reviewer of games and you're watching these streams, put it on your channel. Get the word out there, because quite honestly, those large channels, from your game reviewing channels to anything that's gaming related, if you've got a large channel, put it on your channel. Talk about how amazing this game is, if it is. And that's why it's critical that this game be not only playable, but a very good game. Because that's how we'll finally get a conclusion to the story. Mast said, I don't really care about graphics. At this point, if they stop now, it's fine. It's more than fine. For a Kickstarter project, I think this is the best most impressive Kickstarter project that I've ever seen. Now, there have been more investors than simply us supporting that as a Kickstarter project, but that's for a reason. We're starting to see things come together, and the fact that this franchise is a big deal. It could possibly compete or surpass Yakuza, hopefully. We'll see. So, Atomic Tunes, I'm not seeing enough marketing for it personally. I hope Sega and Sony push out more ads and trailers before launch. This is a difficult one. Games in itself are difficult to advertise for, specifically on television, without the right time slots and marketing. This type of game would appeal to, I think, older gamers and niche gamers that are pretty much connected on YouTube and online constantly. And those type of advertisements have to come up when it comes to, you click on a YouTube video about games and you get interrupted with that 15-30 second ad or a skippable ad where you actually see gameplay of Shenmue as it gets advertised. Now there you see Sony's, on that right screen, it was a Sony advertisement for Shenmue. It's just got to be about hype building and community. And that in itself costs a specific amount of dollars to get those views out there that Google would charge for YouTube or that television stations would charge. But it's expensive, but I agree. I'd like to see it out there more. I'd like to see a buzz. I'd like to see it on Twitter get number 1 or number 2 trending on Twitter. But in order for that to happen, unfortunately, sometimes you need more controversy than actual good gameplay or a good game. And Shenmue has not shied away from controversy, at least with its links, with its updates. And those updates, they've been somewhat detrimental, but sometimes you would think that those controversial updates, from especially when it's talked about, have actually benefited the franchise, because now you have people talking who would have never known what Shenmue is, but then they're like, oh, you see what's happening with Shenmue and this whole epic deal? Wait, well, what is Shenmue? Or Shenmue, someone would call it. Then they'd look it up, and then they'd see, oh, this game looks kind of interesting. What's this about? And once you type in Shenmue or looking at Shenmue controversy, at least from a YouTube perspective, the engine is gonna start feeding you more videos regarding Shenmue. And then if you happen to run into this channel and see me, and you hear me talking about the franchise, maybe you get a little bit more educated, realizing that keep the controversy separate. This game's legacy is strong. And then from a controversial situation, you can have it turn from bad, very negative, to someone wanting to say, hey, I think I want to be a part of this. So that in itself is why I think that controversy could possibly create cash and benefit the franchise as a whole. But from that note, I think I'm going to call it a day. Thank you guys for joining me. Eliza, thank you for subbing. Everyone else subbing to me this channel, subbing to Personal Magnus, and subbing to anyone who has any link to Shenmue is a huge favor to the community and a huge favor to everyone. And I hope that we continue to grow and have conversations like this. You guys are awesome and amazing, and it's because of you that I love to do these streams and continue to do these streams. I plan on doing another video within the next week, and it's going to be not a live stream, but just a topic to further address some controversy. I don't want to jump back in, but I think I have to put this issue to bed once and for all. So once again, thank you, and as always, like, share, and you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. Thank you guys, and see you later.